Hello everyone, welcome back to another Transits and Tarot video. I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. I will be covering the planetary transits and aspects for Monday, May 19th. So let's go ahead and get started. Here I have pulled the moon cards for Monday, May 19th. It will be a moon in Aquarius, and connected to that position, we have the Seven of Swords. So, interesting card to meditate on for this moon positioning. Because a lot of times I think when we see the Seven of Swords, it's like not so positive, right? We think of like a thief or someone trying to get away with something. But it may also be good to think about how we might be turning internally, inside, how it could be a card about quiet communication, internal communication, because of that moon being there. The moon is a lot about our internal life, our internal emotions, internal communication, that sort of thing. And so when we do that, naturally, we may become a little more quiet, a little more reflective. I don't want to say sneaky, but less transparent is a better way to say that. Let's get started with the first aspect here, which will be happening at around 1:23 a.m. That is Pacific time. So please take that into consideration and adjust accordingly depending on where you may be living. So this here is going to be forming an opposition to Mars in Leo. So here we have the Mars card, the Leo card, and here is Mars. Connected to these cards here, we have the Seven of Wands, which represents Mars being in Leo. I think what we can see here is that with Mars, there may be a lot of action happening, possibly unforeseen or unexpected situations might come up. And so I see here Leo as being or showing strength amid changes and challenges, strength amid uncertain times or chaotic times. And so I think that the Seven of Wands card here does a great job of showing us that. So, here we have all these wands kind of poking or pointing at this lady here in the center, and she is holding her own. She's turning her head. She is not being bothered or moved from her center, right? She knows who she is. She knows what she's about, and it doesn't matter what might be going on around her. She has this little bubble that she's in. She is in control of herself. And so I really like that as an idea for this day, that even though these positionings might be in opposition, might be, pulling and tugging at each other, there are some things that we can do to help ourselves. We can show strength amid challenges and chaos. And so I think this is a great little thing to just keep in mind as we move into the early hours of Monday, May 19th. From here, we move on to the moon in Aquarius forming a square to Mercury in Taurus. There we have Taurus. Here we have the card that represents Mercury. And the Five of Pentacles is actually linked to Mercury being in Taurus. And so a square is a challenging aspect. It's when planets are at a hard angle and they're not necessarily being collaborative and just happy to be around each other. There is going to be compromise that has to be made. This will be happening, if I haven't said, around 5 a.m. So early morning. Mercury here is represented by the Magician and Taurus by the Hierophant. Taurus is a lot about tradition, ancestors, the body, this, looking beyond the material into the spiritual. And the magician is a lot about as above, so below. Sometimes we create our own reality, and sometimes that reality is, not amazing. If we're having dark thoughts, sometimes, not that we manifest that, but it's what we see. It's the lens that we end up seeing the world through. So here, the Five of Pentacles is definitely a card that's linked to struggle, to strife, to dealing with a crisis of sorts. And so it's good to remember during this time that we are not alone, right? There's connecting back to Aquarius, we are often linked to a whole community of people. And so we don't have to face the obstacles by ourselves. And maybe also something to think about is creating our reality, working with our thoughts, trying to help mold them so that they can be more positive and we can see through a happier filter. From there, we move on to a sextile aspect, this time between the moon in Aquarius and Chiron in Aries. So here is Aries. Chiron, I like to represent by the Hierophant, just because Chiron is the wounded healer, someone who's learned from their past or their history and is using those lessons to heal other people. So this is a cooperative, collaborative aspect. It is a sextile, right? Because we have Aquarius here being an air sign and Aries being a fire sign. So they will fuel each other up for good or bad, right? So this is where we need to work with these energies to turn them in our favor, so to speak. We can use our wounded healer Chiron to help us know which way to go, to help guide our thoughts if we are in our mind a lot with the moon being in Aquarius. From there, we have a trine forming at 9:13 p.m. This time it'll be between the moon in Aquarius and Jupiter in Gemini. So Jupiter in Gemini is represented by the wheel as Jupiter and the lovers as Gemini. And this card is brought together in the card of the Eight of Swords. So oftentimes when we are faced with a lot of changes in our life, right, returning to the idea of Mars, changes, maybe not so positive ones, we can become a little stressed out. It's good to remember that, again, Aquarius is a sign of the mind, a sign that deals a lot with thinking, with logic, because it's an air sign. And so I think it makes sense that we have the Eight of Swords here. Maybe turning inward, being cunning, scheming potentially over here with the moon in Aquarius, and then becoming a little tied up in our thoughts. A little confused by all of our thinking that's going on, a little unsure about, what are we actually going to do? What choices are we going to make? What's the best way forward? So that might be the feeling at the end of the day on Monday. So yeah, I think there's a lot happening this day, a lot of things that we can work with, energies that we can help to turn in our favor. It's nice to see some of the pitfalls, some of the struggles that we might be facing, and to see ways that we can challenge that, ways that we can channel those energies to work in our favor. I think cards to take heart in is this Seven of Swords, remembering that, no matter what comes our way, we can be confident in ourselves, stay centered, find our strength, remembering that we create our reality, that our thoughts don't have to control us, right? We don't have to get tied up in them. Let them pass like a bad cloud, right? So yeah, I think there are some good cards, definitely learning from um, our ancestors, our spiritual guides, our past lessons, and helping that guide us through this day. So, all right, well, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all again soon with another one. All right, until then, bye. Take care.